Okay, hi everyone, this is SmithyQ, and I'm back with another video analysis. And this one is going to be a follow-up to the video I made last week, where we discussed candidate moves, move orders, as elements in our calculation. This is in some way a simpler position, but also a much more difficult position. So let's dive on in. First things first, I invite you to spend as much time, pause the video, figure out what you would do as white, and then compare that with the method that I'm going to share here. Because again, it's not enough to just look at some cool puzzles. Sure, this is going to be a very interesting one, but rather we want to use this as an opportunity to train our thinking system, so that way we can apply the same ideas in other positions and in our own games. Okay, so let's dive on in. The first thing we want to do is just figure out what's going on in this position. We look at this, white's down a pawn, so we got 2 pawns, he's got 3, yep, 5 against 4. Otherwise, each have 2 rooks, bishop, queen, excellent. Sort of the step 1 is to evaluate the position. So that was the material, but what's happening? And my eyes are lighting up because I'm seeing king and queen, they're on the same rank, and we have rooks that are ready to slide right in. Oh my, that's amazing. We also have this queen is guarding this bishop and this rook. They're both being attacked. The queen's in danger of being overloaded. Further, this rook is over sitting here doing absolutely nothing. If the queen were to move, queen goes to b7, would be check, pick up the rook. There are so many tactical ideas in the air. It appears that black should just collapse immediately. If that were the case, this wouldn't be worth making a video about, would it? And certainly the Grandmaster would have found the move in the game. Let's dive in. So the most obvious move, rook goes to d7, pins the king, pins the queen to the king. Now black doesn't resign, black uses the counter shot. Rook to e1, check. The bishop is pinned, and so we can't take it with the bishop, we can't move it with the king, so the only thing we can do is take it with the rook. Black will throw in bishop f2 check. He then picks up the rook, and what's happened is black has managed to exchange a bunch of pieces, and he's still up that pawn. So that's not good. That was also completely forcing the entire time. Once we play rook d7, black responds with a counter shot. We have no choice, that's it. So simply put, the most tempting move, that rook d7, pinning the king to the queen, doesn't work. Okay, what else? Well, we also saw the queen was overloaded. So maybe we'll do some bishop takes c5, so that way after he takes, we don't have time to recapture because he recaptures with check. In fact, it's actually worse than that. After bishop takes c5, black actually has the exact same counter shot. Rook e1 check. If we take, well, that's just mate instantly. So we can't take, but our king can't run very far. And this is actually a pretty remarkable checkmate, almost out of nowhere. So white's 2 most tempting ideas, the exchange and the invasion, both get hit by that rook e1 counter. What else? And this is where it gets hard, because no other move looks obvious. So what do? Now we have the benefit of knowing that this is a tactical puzzle. And so we can just dig in and start looking at some weird stuff or what have you. But that thought process doesn't work in a game. You don't know if it's a puzzle or not. So when do you know when to look for the weird stuff, so to speak? To look beyond the most obvious moves, the rook d7 and the bishop takes c5. And the answer comes down to what I did at the very beginning. where I said, look, we have this potential alignment. We have this overloaded queen. We have this rook that's doing absolutely nothing. Versus white having all of his pieces active, white having numerous potential threats. White's king appears nominally safer. Certainly there are fewer checks. Though, unfortunately, that rook e1 is basically black's ace up his sleeve. If black didn't have rook e1, all of our threats would work. And so this is where we dig in. That is, we see that there's so much potential, tactical potential. There's these different factors, the overloaded queen, the exposed king, the various alignment of the pieces. All of this tell us, it gives us permission to dig in deeper. We don't know in a real game if it's going to work, but we should explore it. We shouldn't just give up at the first sign of adversity. And so what do we do? Here's where we can take, again, that step back and we ask, why do our ideas not work? And the ideas don't work because of that rook e1. If rook e1 check didn't exist, any of the other variations would win very, very routinely. And so, our candidate moves aren't just the moves that go forward and attack. It's the moves that can stop our opponent's plan, our opponent's idea. What can we do to stop rook e1, or to make it have less power? And if you think that way, that's how you can come to the candidate move, king to f1. So what's the idea? Let's just make a random move for black. Well, it's that exact same idea. We're going to get the rook in, it's pinning, and there's no counter shot anymore because the bishop isn't pinned. The bishop can take. Remember, going back, the problem with the king and the bishop here is that when we tried this, rook e1 was check and the bishop was pinned. By playing king f1, now it's not pinned. Rook d7 is a huge threat. So what does black do? How can black stop that? So let's say he plays, rook d7, trying to control the square. Well, now we can take the bishop. There is no rook e1, and after take, we just want a rook. Hoo-hoo, that overloaded queen. And of course, if black doesn't recapture, then he's just down a piece. So black cannot simply play rook d7 to defend. The exact same thing works against king goes to h6, trying to get out of the coming skewer or the pin. But again, the exact same thing. We can take on c5. If black recaptured, would win the rook. And if he doesn't recapture, we're up a piece. And there's no rook e1 because our king now supports it. Bishop takes. We're not going to recapture. No. The whole point of moving our king was to make sure that bishop takes f2. It's not check. There's no pin. We go in. So is this just GG? One of the hardest parts about chess, about calculating these types of lines, is figuring out, again, all the candidate moves. So for black, his problem is there's a rook coming in, and the queen is overloaded. Is there a way to deal with both of those problems? And there is. The bishop can move back. So the bishop is physically blocking the rook from coming to d7, and it's moving out of the way of the bishop c5. But here is where the final piece of the puzzle comes in. That last thing that we talked about, the exposed king and the rook doing nothing in the corner. We can simply exchange everything. The queen comes in, picks up the rook, and that's game. And it's not as if black has any counterplay, because after bishop e1. There's no checks, nothing else. White's simply up a piece. White's going to win this game. So in this position, certain moves just scream to be played. Bishop c5 is an obvious candidate. The rook to d7 is even more of an obvious candidate. One of the most important things is being able to find all the candidate moves. Now, it'd be great if you could just look at this position and say, oh yeah, of course king f1 is the best move. It very rarely works that way. Or if it does, if you saw this and said, yeah, it has to be king f1, hats off to you, let me know how you do that. How did I find that? I found that by looking at the two moves, bishop c5 and rook goes to d7. And I saw that they didn't work. To the exact same black response, in fact, the rook e1. And then, of course, I had the benefit of knowing that this was a tactical puzzle. And so I could dive in and look for other moves to see what would happen. But in a game, again, we don't have that. We don't have the luxury of knowing there's something there. But again, there's always the clues. And you can piece that together by realizing, again, the tactical factors, the different possibilities. We have the alignment, we had that overloaded queen, and then we had the undefended rook in the corner doing absolutely nothing with the extra exposed king. All that are the clues to dig in deeper. It doesn't mean there will always be something. Again, there are some positions with no tactics. But when there's enough clues, that tells you to dive in deep and then explore beyond the most obvious candidate moves, to ask sort of the next level of probing questions. Why don't my moves work? It doesn't work because he's got this. Okay, so sort of a new candidate move. Is there anything I can do to get rid of that? If you think that way, that's how you're going to find the correct solutions. So again, this is training our thinking. We want to apply this to as many positions as we can until it becomes habit, and then it just happens automatically. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed, just sort of this position, the amazing king f1, fantastic move. And you can see the thought process to find something that a grandmaster, in fairness, almost certainly in time pressure, was not able to find. It's not just a superhuman gift that these grandmasters have. There is a process that we can follow to find many, many moves. So otherwise, I think that's it. Let me know, question, comments, criticisms. Love to hear your feedback. Otherwise, I'm Smithy Q. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.